Army at Notre Dame. 15.5 point spread here. Notre Dame is obviously the favorite. Over under set at 44.5. 7 p.m. Eastern time. This one's going down at Notre Dame. Touchdown Jesus in attendance here. Let's look at some of the stats and things like that, and we'll kind of bring it up. You can see the matchup predictor there by ESPN, 87.7%. I don't put like a ton of stock in that or anything, guys, but it is a reference point that we can kind of look at and at times point and laugh at. But they use a model like a lot of people would use, right? And here's kind of a model prediction that I thought was pretty interesting. This is from College Football Nerds, and it shows Army as winning this game. 17.5 to 11.5 whenever they simulated the game. And look, you got to take this with a grain of salt, okay? There's literally a disclaimer on the page whenever you do this model, and it says that teams that have not played as tough a schedule as other teams are going to be weighted incorrectly. And Army, as much as I love this story and everything that Daly has done there at quarterback, and he's had an amazing, amazing season. Um, you know, uh, this model is not taking into account who these teams have played, and Notre Dame has NFL talent on their team, Mason, and that's what I'm worried about. It's kind of like what we talked about with Indiana, Ohio State, and for the record, I picked Indiana to cover the spread there, but whenever we start getting down to it, man, and I'm not saying Army's got an X's and O's advantage here because I don't think they do necessarily. I'm sure Army doesn't have a better coaching staff than what Notre Dame does necessarily. But the Jimmies and the Joes, I think, are probably going to make all the difference here. Notre Dame recruits really, really well, guys, and they've got really, really good football players all around. And whenever these two teams get off the bus, it's going to be very clear which one has got a physical advantage. And not only does Notre Dame look the part, they are extremely physical. They're the only defense in the country that's ranked top 10 in every metric. And so I think they're a team that doesn't get talked about a lot as being one of the best defenses in the country, but I think that they are in all reality. And they give themselves a ton of advantages by playing such solid defense and running the football very effectively. Notre Dame has been absolute hell to stop on the ground and hasn't always been the most efficient rush attack, but boy, it's been potent. Um, and the passing game has come on a little bit as the years went on, but I don't think any of us ever thought that this Notre Dame team was just going to be one of the best passing offenses in the country with Riley Leonard at quarterback. Um, but that boy, they can run the football, Mason. They do it at about 200 yards a game clip, which is really, really good. And beyond that, when you run the ball that successfully, you are limiting possessions of the other team. Um, now, what is the? Let's go back and look at the total for this game. It's set at 44.5, and you see what the model is predicting here. I do think that this is going to be a low scoring game, Mason. Now,
Mhm.
um, this low scoring, I'm not sure. I could see Notre Dame winning this thing 21-17 or something. I mean, I could see that happening. I could also see Notre Dame winning this game 28-7. You know,
Mhm.
um, so I don't think that there's going to be a ton of offensive possessions here. I think this is going to be a game where um, both teams will probably be able to sustain some drives. Going to be really tough to put it in the red zone. These two teams going against one another. I think it's going to be real tough to get it into the end zone. I don't think there'll be a ton of points to go around. Probably a good bit of field goals. As far as in relativity to the scoring of the game, there's going to be majority field goals. I think we'll see. Turnovers is something that you can't predict. We'll have to see how both of these teams do protecting the football. I don't have any reason to believe that they won't be able to do that. Each one of them. Um, yeah, man. I like Army. I think I like Army to cover this. But again, man, I'm not rushing to go bet this thing. This thing opened up at 17. It's already been bet down to 14.5. You know what I'm saying? So, and the total opened at 43.5, and it's been bet up to 44.5. So y'all can kind of see what the public is thinking on this one. The public is thinking higher than 43.5. So I'd love to bet against the public there, and I probably will bet the under. Um, I'll let that number keep going up through the week. Join us Thursday for our betting show, and we'll have all our best bets. Um, but the public is betting with Army here, and that just honestly almost scares me off right there. I know everybody wants Army to win this game. If you're not a Notre Dame fan, you want Army to win. Um, but that doesn't make a difference whenever we're talking about outcomes in college football. I think Notre Dame wins. I think Army has a chance to keep it within the 14 and a half. But anything below 14, there's no way I'm betting on this game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning with you on that. What I like the under in this game mostly. I think from a betting perspective, we can all root for Army. I'm in the Army, so I of course I'm rooting for Army to win this game. Most of America is, but at the end of the day, Notre Dame is just a superior product on the field, and nobody's denying that. However, this isn't going to go like the Navy game went against Notre Dame. If you turn that game off in the first quarter, I don't blame you. But that game was very dependent. It got out of hand early because of the turnovers. If you recall that, that game had just. I mean, I think it was like 6 turnovers, if I'm not mistaken, Mark, in that football game. I mean, the Navy could not sustain drives, and I don't think you see that from Army. I think that they will be able to drive the football, keep this relatively close. I'm hesitant to bet Army to keep it within 17 points. I think that would be more of a fair line, 16 and a half, 17 and a half, somewhere around there. I might lean Notre Dame against the spread here, but I do like it to be a lower scoring game. Surprisingly, Army's defense is actually really good against the run. They're actually fifth in total defense. They're only giving up 273.9 yards per game, and then against the run, they're averaging giving up 82.6 yards per game. That's good for third in the country. Um, they've been really solid on that side, which is obviously what Notre Dame wants to do. They want to run the football. Now, has Army faced a rushing attack as good as Notre Dame's? Absolutely not. Not even close. I'm not going to pretend to tell you that that's a stat that Army's going to be able to exploit to the point of winning this football game. But I am going to tell you that they're good enough to stop some drives and get some and force some punts, and get the ball back and do the same thing on the other side of the football and try to run the football. They're first in the country in rushing yards per game at 334.9. So they're going to run the football somewhat effectively, which, by the way, Notre Dame is 43rd in the country at defending the run. They're averaging giving up 126.2 yards per game. So the advantage there is for Army in a sense. However, like you mentioned with the college football nerds model, when you look at the stats relative to performance, or relative to strength of schedule, I guess I should say, Army doesn't measure up. Um, which, now that I say that, I had to think for a second. Outside of Texas A&M's defense, who has Notre Dame faced that you look at and say their schedule's so much harder than Army's? It's
Louisville.
probably not, actually. Yeah, Louisville's one, but just as a for a schedule, as a whole, I
Yeah.
mean, are they really that much different? Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not a ton.
One of the big games was supposed to be Florida State, right,
Hmm.
for Notre Dame, and obviously we all know what that this came down to. I mean, Florida State lost last week, and they didn't even play. Um, so they lose every week, even when they don't play. They were on a bye week, so yeah, that kind of took a little sting out of the schedule, you know.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. But for my prediction, I'm probably going to bet the under here, even at 44 and a half. I think that this has a chance of being a game, like you said, that Notre Dame wins like 28-9. Right, I could see that sort of happening where they cover, they cover the spread, but also the under hits. I think that if Army's able to cover the spread here, I think even more so, it's likely that the under hits, because I'm thinking for Army to cover the spread, this game's going to be like 21-14 or 21-13 or 17, somewhere around there, and it's kind of a gutsy performance because both of these teams are going to run the football. I think this is going to be like a 2.5 hour game. Like it's going to be super short. And in that sense, I think under is the right play here, especially if the betting public is going over 44.5.
Yeah. I one of my betting stances this season has been betting with Notre Dame in these types of games right here. They've overperformed in a lot of these situations this year, and I like Notre Dame to. I, it's hard for me to bet against them after what I've seen this year. I bet against them in that Louisville game, and Notre Dame came out on top. I will say this, and somebody said something about this in the comment section a minute ago. Notre Dame has been the beneficiary of a lot of turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have they caused the turnover? It's the old chicken or the egg. Did the offense they're playing hand the ball over, or did Notre Dame go and get it? I mean, it's obviously a mix of the two. But Louisville shot themselves in the foot in the first quarter of their game against Notre Dame. No, Navy turned the ball over a bunch against Notre Dame. Even last week, Notre Dame got 5 turnovers against Virginia and only won 35-14. I mean, now that is a comfortable win. I'm not saying it's not. I mean, that's 3 touchdowns. That's a butt whooping in any circle that I come from. But if they don't have the 5 turnovers, what is that game? I can't help but wonder, or if Virginia has 1 turnover or 2, but they had 5 and they lost by 3 touchdowns. So I think Army is the right side of this. I think Army plus the points is the right side. It conflicts everything that I've kind of programmed myself to believe this year. But that's college football betting. You better be ready to get out of your comfort zone. Scared money don't make no money. Join us on Between the Lines. It's Thursday every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's our best bets against the spread. We'll probably have some bets on this one. We're both feeling the under. I think I'm feeling Army plus the points. I think maybe Mason is too. Let's see where this total goes throughout the week. Come and join us on First and Long College Football Show as we go live on Thursday. We'll do it again on Saturday night / Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Tuesdays. We've got live shows throughout the week. Come hang out with us here on the First College Football Show.